not doing the thing about the bask in the glory, bask in the red hot heat of a European Thursday night at Ibrox. I know it's been really warm in Scotland over the last week. It's certainly been unseasonably warm and really sunny in Glasgow for the last few days. I know that Bilbao is what it's not as warm as the rest of Spain, but I've been to Bilbao. It's certainly warm enough for a baldy exchanger like myself. And I've been. Is it Getxo? Getxo. It's on the outskirts of Bilbao. It's basically a seaside resort. It's absolutely beautiful. Been along the road to San Sebastian. Is it the Conch, La Concha, have they called it? The shorefront, the promenade. I've been along there. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, beautiful views, beautiful seaside, warm, roasting resorts. They know all about it, do the Basques. I'm not doing that thing. I'm not doing that thing of basking in it because you need to be in a good mood for that kind of stuff. It's better than my usual patter, I admit that, but for a pun, you need to be in a good mood to deliver. I'm in a bad mood. I'm in a really bad mood, and I think it's just pre-match nerves. It's the most important game Rangers have played for nearly 3 years, and it's important to say not yet 3 years because it's not yet 3 years since we appeared in this very final, the final of a European competition, the final of a European tournament. This tournament, the UEFA Europa League, we're in the final in an all-red seated stadium in Spain, and I know the Basques would hate to be called Spanish. They hate to be compared to Sevilla, who they beat recently in the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, wearing an all blue kind of away kit, a Rangers style, Rangers colour, Rangers blue kit. Actually, that was quite nice to watch that when I was doing a wee bit of research on them, and I'm quite happy for us. We're quite happy Rangers supporters not to have to mention what Sevilla, what the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, how we were treated there, how that part of Spain treated us. So we're really looking forward to going to a different part of Spain. In this, I personally would hate to be called Spain. Got to Euskal Herrera, Scary Casco, in the second leg next Thursday. It's the biggest game Rangers have played since then, since that final in Seville in 2022, and I'm so tense. Therefore, means I don't think it's performance anxiety because the way I'm talking here now, you can see that I don't really have any of that when it comes to podding. But the folk are saying, "Oh, Alec, YouTube are saying to me, the folk actually feel so sorry for you that they're watching your wee channel, they're monetise it, getting money out of these mugs and all that." I'm like, well, these folk, it's a kind of community thing. They're just better go in. Just listen to a few Alex talking points, just fast forward through May State, pick up a few talking points, send the big man a wee post, a wee reply in the comment section just to check that he's alright, because I think he needs this. He really needs to get this out of his system. I do, thanks very much. But how can I charge? I think I'm supposed to do adverts or something like that. And the best bit is they suggest a members only, but where do you get the rest of my part? Like I'm saving stuff, the stuff I put out for nothing because it's worth nothing. That's just to get you in for the members only stuff and the stuff that's left on the cutting room floor or whatever. There's nothing left in the cutting room floor. My pods are like 2.5 hours long at times. There's plenty still left to say. I could make them 5 hours long, that. But the idea of charging folk as my partner gets more and more dreary is really quick. But the first thing I would have to do is get the recording. I've said this before, I'm sorry, I keep apologising for it without doing anything about it, and it's worse now because I've downloaded my ticket for this game in 24 hours and a bit of loose change away. Rangers in the quarter-final of the Europa League yet again, this time against Athletic Club of Bilbao, welcoming them to Ibrox. I just want that game to start. Not even the game to start, I just want to be in my seat, and that's difficult enough when it comes to European games. I think that's another part of the tension. Part of the tension is the fact that I've told you extensively in these pods how much I love European football, how much it means the same to you. They're not charging £49 a ticket because folk couldn't care less about Europe that support Rangers. But for a lot of people, it's like we can't win the league, and that's our priority. Make sure we're winning stuff domestically at home, and we need to do that to get into Europe. We need to have a certain level of achievement domestically to be getting continual access to European football. But I'm quite happy to sacrifice it all domestically in any given season to get us into a European final. It's so much more glorious than anything we can possibly achieve within Scotland. And yet you go to these games, the biggest games of the season, and it was like, I say, £49 for the ticket for this tie. I'm in the main stand front. There'll be folk who are paying more, there'll be folk who are paying slightly less, but I'm in my gels. I've got the season ticket since whenever. I've rarely missed a European game at Ibrox or Hampden, whatever our home stadium is, in the last 30 years, probably 25. I would say I've been really going proper regular, but it's £49 for all the discounts that can possibly apply. I've got that, and the cheapest I can get my ticket is a kick in the arse of £50. So everybody kind of agrees that these matches are the most important matches of the season, and yet because of the QR code thing, and I've been bad at it as well, I was late into the Union St Gilles game because I forgot to download my actual ticket onto my phone to get the QR code to get me through the turnstile. But there's so many folk, I think there's like 40,000 season ticket holders at Ibrox, which only holds 50,000, but it seems like 60,000 people who've never been to Ibrox before turn up on European nights, and that's part of the atmosphere. Big games are supposed to be chaotic, cup finals and all that. There's 140,000 squeezed into the Hampden there for that cup final, and folk were peeing down your leg, and they were getting locked out outside and stuff like that. It's all part of the chaos of a big game that makes it feel like a big communal experience. Don't get me wrong, I've said it before, the game against RB Leipzig, the semi-final in 2021-2022 wasn't just the greatest football match of my life, it was the greatest communal experience of my life. It was just crowd surfing across the top. It was brilliant. It was different. Some of the stuff that was said between people that night, and then some of the things that happened, different, just absolutely sublime. One of the things I'll take to the grave with me, as long as my marbles are still as tentatively intact as they are right now. But also, I'm supposed to be providing you with a service, providing you with a podcast, and my partner's bad enough. The least I could do is make it technically correct. And as I keep saying, I've got this thing going on, I keep forgetting to download all this stuff. I need to get rid of all this stuff. I've got hundreds of holiday photographs and all that on this recording device, let's call it euphemistically. I need to get rid of them, just get them onto Facebook or something. Zuckerberg sold out to Trump as well, we Nazi shit. So I don't know where to put the stuff now. I'm not very technically adept, as you might have known. So I end up, the only way I can make my voice not go out of sync with my fat moving mouth is to do the selfie mirror thing where everything in the background's back to front. But yeah, I'm picking up all these Easter eggs for these. I know they're no difficult to read just now. It's because they're quite big letters and all that. That's obviously a tourist guide to Bilbao. You got Phil Ball's Morbo there on the history of Spanish football. When Saturday comes books, you got to read that Phil Ball Morbo. And I know about Spanish football probably comes for that. And my pal Jason, who's Celtic daft and also loves athletic clubs. So that gives you a wee bit of flavour what's happening. The athletic club support, what's going through there politically when it comes to playing Rangers. But there's more confusing stuff than that. Also, what have I got there? Union City Blues, Blondie. In the back, that's the single I've got this week. Union City Blues, Blondie. We know why that's up there. It's not. It just so happens that it's the only Blondie single I ever bought, and it's a total coincidence. It's the staunchest title of any of Blondie's singles. Maybe it isn't. Maybe there's one that's stauncher. Union Blues. But we know why that's up there. Somebody every week. Val Kilmer last week. There's somebody every week these days when you get to my age. Anyway, that's Pichichi. We'll talk about him later. And then you've got Zara. He's in the middle of that team group. He's just two most famous strikers in the history of Athletic Club. And you're saying, Alec, what's I mean, that's a bandana type thing. My mate Jason, I'm talking about, Celtic fan, he was over 2013, I think. Athletic Club played Barcelona in the Copa del Rey final, Valencia perhaps, at Mestalla. I don't know if he actually got into the game, but he certainly was over there for the street parties and all that, and he brought that back for us. What else we got going on there? We've got a big fat European quarter final pennant, which seems quite appropriate. I maybe need to go and get myself a wee pennant tomorrow night. So there's a Europa League one with the Uefa Cup trophy on it, an appropriate pennant for when we're back at this stage this time next season. Or it'll be Champions League this time next season, but it's Rangers against Cologne. You're like, it's Rangers against Cologne, 78-79 European Cup. It's a ranked tournament, and also we get beat. Yeah, but if it's back to front, and it might need to be for me to get all this pack, because I know what I'm saying, it's such a massive game, and I've thought about it so long and hard. We've all thought about it so long and hard. There's so much confusion going on with Rangers season. We might be a takeover with two different home stadiums. We're crap domestically, away from home. Oh no, we're great away from home domestically. Now we're crap at home domestically in record-breaking proportions. Yet in Europe, we're doing absolutely fantastically. So what's going on, and how are we going to go in tomorrow night? Athletic Club are sensational, very powerful. club come from a very powerful domestic league and they're doing well in it, and they finished second in the Europa League group stage, expanded group stage, the 36 team single group stage this season, and we were 8th. So does that mean we're going to get horsed? But yeah, we keep overachieving in Europe, but we usually do better away from home than we do at home, and we get the home leg in the morning. There's a whole lot of confusion and tension. I'm going on holiday first thing on Friday morning and trying to get your triple XL pants from Marks and Spencer's, and then nipping out to Decathlon for a lot of cheap, quadruple XL t-shirts. I don't know if it's helping me just channel a lot of my energy, a lot of my tension. I don't know if it's good to take my mind off the game, but it isn't. You just see the different colours shirts now. You got that's red and white, that's blue, that's a bit like the Euskal here, kind of, well, that green there is like the Icarinia, the Basque flag shirt that they wear, the Basque country wear when they have their representative games, and also it's like the jersey that was worn by Athletic Club in the 2012 Europa League final against Atletico de Madrid, which performed by Athletic Club fans who went to Madrid as students. I don't know, there's a lot going through my. I don't know if it's take my mind off it. It's actually, I just want to get rid of everything else. I don't want to be going to be on holiday first thing and Friday. What? Who doesn't want to go on holiday? I just want to give myself over to this occasion, this Thursday evening. Rangers, any Europa League Thursday night at Ibrox, particularly against Athletic Club. I want to bask in it. I just want to bask in this game. All things make me tense. Alec, why get European quarter final that we get beaten? The pennant for it up there. That's the only one I could find. I don't have an Athletic Club pennant. I should have got one. I did the tour of the original San Mames, like a cathedral back in 2007. I was there in the summertime. I've never seen this. I've never seen them, and this is the first time I'm getting to see them. And I'm so fat. I'm so like 23 stone. 55-year-old coming up on 56. I think I'm actually a bit tense. Never mind the pre-match nerves. Never mind the fact that folk are going to be walking up down the aisles or being really late, getting to the turnstiles, and I'm going to get held up or something. I'm not going to get in there to see kick-off. I might not make the actual fixture. I mean, if I get any more worked up during the course of this podcast, I'm probably going to have a massive coronary, and I'll not get there. I need to see Athletic Club Bilbao, because I've told you this before. I'm going to the same as the stuff with the podcast being out of sync. My ticket, I had to download my ticket onto the phone, so that's taking up more the data, more the energy, more whatever it needs. And I'm going to go this holiday on Friday. I'm going to pick more photographs. I'm just guess when I'm going on holiday. Anybody can guess when I'm going on holiday. They'll get a copy of my book about Rangers Barcelona. Me and Ronnie wrote a book 30 years ago, Rangers Barcelona 72. I know I've showed you before. I know it's on. You can download it. I've done a wee blog about it and stuff like that. But this is the original, the A5. Is it A5? That size of jot or bit of paper that I've had since I was like 12, 13-year-old. When I first started getting into European club finalists. Since European club competition, as we currently know it, despite the different iterations, the different nomenclature, the different formats, started in 1955. Since then, there has been 104 clubs and one select side that have reached a final of European club competition, and I have seen 76 of them in the flesh, 76 out of 105, and this is the 7th home European game I've been to this season. I've been to them all. I don't do the European away games anymore. Can't afford it. Don't have the time. Don't have the physical ability. I think if I lose some weight, I can maybe spend less money on the Mars bars, Alec. Spend it on getting your MyGers loyalty up for European away trips. But so it's £300 probably spent in 7. This is the first time I'm getting to score another team after the list. That's going to happen because the more teams you get, the harder it is to score after the remainder. I'm doing into the 20s now. I've only got 29 to go, so tomorrow night I'll only have 28 left, trying to achieve this, get to see all these teams before I snuff it. But ironically, having seen really aptly having seen 76 European club finalists tomorrow, Athletic Club Bilbao, or tonight, or in 2 minutes, depending on when you're getting to watch this podcast. Don't ruin the illusion, Alec. 77. Athletic Club Bilbao will be 77. Finally, I've been to Bilbao on holiday for a week and stuff like that. I've been in the stadium and stuff, but I've never actually seen them in the flesh. I've seen Real Sociedad twice. I've seen Osasuna's first ever European game. Craig Patterson 1-0 Ibrox. That was the first leg and they pit us out. But I've seen them twice. I've not seen Alaves. Still got to see them. Couldn't care less about Ibar. But this is finally getting to see the biggest club in the Basque region, in Euskal Herria. 77 they'll be for me. 77th European club finalist I have seen in the flesh in their first European final. They got onto that list for the first time. When I first wrote them down, 14-year-old me, still learning to write, managed to write down Athletic Club on that list. they'd only reached one European final, and it was 1977. The 77 UEFA Cup final, and that's why they get beaten. But that's back to front. If it's back to front, well then, the first leg against Cologne for Rangers in the 78-79 European Cup was in the Mungersdorfer. We get beat 1-0, brought them back home, and they pit us out by drawing it. But we're at home tomorrow night, so it's fine. But if you've turned it back to front now, Alex, so that's no cancelling that out, right? I don't know. It's a European Cup. They're playing the Europa League tomorrow night. The Europa League used to be called the UEFA Cup in 78-79. We beat Juventus. Didn't we beat Juventus in the first round? Juventus 18 months earlier had beaten Athletic Club Bilbao in the 1977 UEFA Cup final, and then we beat PSV Eindhoven, who were the holders of the UEFA Cup. They'd won it. We'd beat the 77 and 78 UEFA Cup winners. We'd beat them in the 2 consecutive rounds. And we played Cologne, who'd never been in a European final before at that point in time, 78-79, and they pit us out in a European quarter-final. It's the first European quarter-final I remember. This is the 14th quarter-final in European competition that Rangers have played. If you'd get the 1992, that's an age thing. That's what happens. You mix up decades. The 1992-93 Champions League was it was the last eight that went into group stage. It was a quarter-final group stage, so we're definitely we're basically semi-finalists, because if you go all the way for the final, you're a semi-finalist. But I am counting that as a quarter-final if you're going to go back through there and count. How you doing, folks? I'm such a bad mood, because if this isn't right, and the game's coming up, and I've got other stuff today that I don't want to be doing, but it's pretty much nerves. This is your fat egg. Rangers have to stop losing games, and to get a good result against Athletic Club Bilbao, we have to get our first non-defeat at Ibrox in 6 games. If we're going to have any chance, probably, of progressing to the semi-finals of Europe, and we're going to have to get that first home non-defeat in 6 games in a European quarter-final preview pod, coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet, the podcast from Sunday nights, 9:30, the flagship show every Sunday night on Jersnet. But the Sunday just past there, it was John was hosting, Colin and Ross, 3 OGs, founder members of Jersnet. Frankie, of course, in the background does more work than anybody else. It's his baby, but the guys make sure that it works. Congratulations to Jersnet. It was their 400th episode. That's 7 years that Jersnet has been going for, and big, massive congratulations to everybody there. And I keep trying to behave myself. I'm practicing cutting the pods down to less than 2 hours. Maybe I'll be allowed back on that. And the cocaine thing is really, as I say, I've not been on Jersnet as often as I used to because of the cocaine thing. Boys, next time I will share it. I will dish it out. Sorry about that. I wasn't trying to bogart the game. Massive congratulations to everybody. It's a fantastic show. Get on there and check that out. What an achievement. 7 years of absolutely quality podding. An absolute bloody honour for myself to have been involved in any stage with Jersnet. But that was it. Get on there and check that out, folks. Because obviously they were talking about the game this midweek as well. I'm sponsored by that, and I'm also sponsored by the traffic lights on the roundabout. It's on the A82, just right at the edge of Dumbarton. I mean, it's still Dumbarton. You could go to your left, and you could, if you're heading for Glasgow towards like Loch Lomond Shores, now you head for Glasgow towards Loch Lomond along the A82, and you go through Dumbarton. Well, it's the last roundabout, I think, that's still in Dumbarton. And if you go to the right, you go up to, there's a wee kind of retail, I don't know what you call it, retail park or something like that, and it's got like a Costa, and it's got a Starbucks, and it's got one of the best Western type hotel thing. No, best, what are they called? You just get the meal and all that, and it's all kind of guys who are working and they're away from home and they stay there, and it's all very, sorry sir, we've run out of steak pie, masturbating to porn on your phone in your bedroom kind of place. It's that kind of place, that their kind of car park, and they get the drive-through Costa, drive-through Starbucks, but before that there's a wee bit you turn in, it's a Greg's. It's a kind of weird Greg's, it's like a wee shopping centre almost, a wee kind of arcade type thing, but it's signs for renting, I think you follow. I'm sponsored by that as well. I was going round that roundabout on my name's Alec Anderson. The day is my enemy. The night is my friend. Enemy number one. The day is my enemy. Not a frenemy. The night is my friend. Mm-hmm. 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 My name's Alec Anderson. This is the Fat Egg Podcast, the podcast where your banners, the message on the banners that are put up are always crystal clear. There's no kind of worry about what. There's actually a line that's been missed out somewhere to make this all make sense. It'll be really, really crystal clear what my banners mean. The grammar will be perfect and quite detailed, actually. It's just maybe they go on a bit long. There's going to be too many folk required to hang up my banners. The message will be really clear, but it'll maybe get a bit too long. Like, for example, I am pro all woke ideologies, except, of course, any that go too far. And I politically, though, I wouldn't want you to think that I'm against the royal family, although I don't mean that in a party political sense. For example, I'm pro the royal family because it's a kind of repository, a very handy repository. That's in, there's a bit of dash in there. That's kind of and a very handy repository for patriotism, which is an inevitable occurrence in any country. And if there's a body that can take on patriotism without affecting party politics, then I think that's all well and good. Keep Rangers in Europe for as long as possible because we want to reach our 6th European final and win our 2nd European trophy. And what is it? Oh God, man, it's taking a lot to. My arms are getting sore holding this up long enough for folk to read it and get the photographs. You think that's bad, mate? I was in the warehouse having to spray the message on. That's the kind of. I was driving along the A82 on Sunday, at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock on Sunday. There, beautiful, beautiful sunshine, and I get beeped. I get beeped at the first set of floodlights when you go to take the right to go towards that wee retail park. I'm talking about the Starbucks and the wee hotel. What do you call the hotels? There's a name for them. Premier Inn. Is it a Premier Inn? It might be that. Maybe lodge involved in there or something. And partly they're going to go in for the Starbucks for a coffee. The Starbucks, the Costa, it's better. And I was just looking at looked up at the red light, and I looked, and right behind it, in the beautiful blue sky, like it is right now outside as I'm recording, the moon. I could see the moon, and it was crystal clear. So I get beeped. I get beat by a guy in a Watts van. That's fair enough. No, it was absolutely fine because the lights had changed to green. It was a Sunday afternoon, but still, you got to watch the road, and folk work all hours these days and odd days of the week. This guy was in a wee Watts van, so I'm like, all right. So I was kind of on, and you go around that. It's another roundabout you go around. It's got a big deer, a big metal kind of sculpture of a deer or sort of stag in the middle of it, and it's signs for rent, and you're thinking you're in that, the Barton, Renton, Vale of Leaven, all won the Scottish Cup, all won the championship of the world back in the Victorian era, real football hotbed, and I'm like a football history hotbed, and I'm like, you're in another roundabout, then you go in towards retail Barton, there's another roundabout where you can veer off to go to the Greg's, or carry on to go to the two coffee places in the hotel where you sit alone in your room and you think I shouldn't be doing this, but the guy was following me. And the Watts fan was going the same way. I'm thinking, no, but I'm the BP. I'm the BP. I get beeped. I wasn't doing the beeping. No, if you're going to get angry and charge at a guy, you don't go after somebody who, I'll put on the hazards not to say, oh, sorry, mate, you're right. And I gave him the wee wave to the rear view mirror. Oh, sorry, but that was me. I was going here for a cut. And he's right behind me. And I'm like, oh, he's going to give me a doing. It didn't even say nonce. It had been spray painted in the side of his van. You got to watch that, by the way. I had lessons. Absolutely. Stephen Graham is just the wee boy. Utterly phenomenal acting. The psychologist. There's not a bad performance in that entire thing. What a really vital piece of life is complicated. Life is complicated. It's okay. So I try to get in, but it turned out he veered after to go to the Greg's, and I just went on and settled down. And we went for a coffee. I wasn't going to get a doing. I was going to get a cappuccino, and I got the tuna melt thing, baguette, and I had a wee. Bit of carrot cake, and it was absolutely lovely instead of the kicking that I thought I was going to get. But the whole point of that is it was daytime and the sun was up, and this is Rangers. The daytime, it was beautiful. We just absolutely honking on Saturday against Hibs. I mean, just embarrassingly bad, and then Celtic getting beat. I mean, Barry's ruined it. If we'd beat Motherwell, it was supposed to at Ibrox under Barry, and if we'd won that game against Hibs, it was supposed to. We'd be 7 points behind now. We had an Old Firm game at Ibrox coming up. We could be winning this league, but think Celtic wouldn't get beat if we hadn't get beat to be fifth. It's quite fun. The other thing is we still teeing up Celtic for winning the league at Ibrox, which they did in 66, 67 when we got to a European final. It's also all the coincidences are there, all the omens are there, but the main one is the fact that the sun couldn't outshine the moon, and that's good. That's a good. It was like almost like Celtic getting beaten kind of cheered me up. It'd be a bit of a laugh. They get beat off a team right at the bottom of the league, and that was, it's pathetic. 13 points clear us, whatever. But we're still closer to Celtic than Hibs are to us after that weekend. After Hibs beating us at Ibrox, that was nice as well. And it just put a wee spring in my step. And I thought that's why the moon's out, because Rangers are better. And the day is our enemy, the night is our friend. In Europe, we're just brilliant. We're just fantastic, and it's been this way for quite a few seasons now, or 3 seasons straight anyway, at least. We've been fantastic in Europe. Even Gerrard arrived, he first started getting us going in Europe. And we've been honking at times, absolutely mince murder at the weekend during the daytime when we're playing league matches. I know we play midweek league matches, I know it doesn't, but you know what, you get what I'm saying. The day's my enemy, the night is our friend. So I just... Athletic Club, I was hoping they would maybe beat Villarreal quite easily, so they wouldn't have, they wouldn't go Ibrox with too much to prove. And it turned out they got a 0-0. They drew 0-0 away to Villarreal. It was a 6-pointer for them on the Sunday at 8 o'clock. So they've played later than us. I don't know, but if you ever been in a chat with one of the folk who keep going, no mate, you know what I mean? No, folk, you know what I mean? Do you get what I'm meaning? But do you understand what I'm getting? You're like, aye mate, as soon as you made the point there initially, I understood instantly what you meant. It's not that deep, intellectually or spiritually or morally, whatever it is. It's just not that deep. But you can't say that. You're like, oh aye, could you do that for me now? I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to just say something that's really obvious. Do you get what I mean? Do you get what I mean? Because my attitude getting into this game is 5 straight home defeats this season equate with, I'm sure, in terms of just unacceptable, or maybe the fact that it's the first time it's ever happened, I don't think we could have ever have lost 3 competitive Old Firm games at Ibrox before September in any domestic season. And that's what we did in 1971-72. Celtic beat us 3 times at Ibrox because League Cup sectional thing, and we drew them in our group, and Parkhead was getting done up, so they I know when's it going to be finished, but they got to play at Ibrox, used Ibrox as the home ground in one of the games. So they played us twice in the League Cup at Ibrox, and then they played us in the league at Ibrox in, I think, mid-September, and they beat us 3 times before the end of September. Beat us 3 times at Ibrox competitively. That's a really weird kind of outlier, a bit like we've never lost 5 straight home games at Ibrox, and we never lost 4, and then we added to it 5. I just feel as if the Rangers players at Ibrox seem to know they're all even at the end of the season. Desser's kind of inability to score is a real problem at times. If we didn't play, though, it would be a bigger problem because he does score. But that camera shot of Suter, I was watching the sports scene highlights of the game, where he's kind of rubbing his headlet. Willard's in his Saigon hotel room just trying to work. He's missed another sitter. He's been through on goal. He's missed another sitter. But like Butland's Ricks, it's only the same as the mistakes that Jack Butland is making, and just being a mere kind of really visible and readily understandable representation of what this entire team of ours is and isn't doing this whole season. Away from home, they find a sharpness and a resolve, and that's happening now domestically. They can get it done like they did at Dundee. Even if they have their poor moments, they'll come over it. But at home, they're becoming crap. They can't beat anybody. And that contrast is also to be had between our domestic form and our European form. In Europe, I think it's a vibe. This whole kind of, I think it's a vibe methodology. Barry, I don't think he's going to be the manager next season. I don't think he should be either. To be perfectly honest, I don't think he should be. But I've been really worried for him. I was worried for him when he took the job. I realised how much I actually still cared for Barry, despite a silly fallout I had with him that he doesn't know anything about, with the whole Paul Le Guen thing back in the day. But I was like, no. And it's been a joy to listen to him, just giving the proper Rangers man kind of, I know I think that's oversold. There's definitely something to it, especially when it comes to domestic football, needing a proper Rangers man in there. And there's no more proper a Rangers man than Barry Ferguson. He's the kind of guy that makes you realise how much you love Rangers and the standards that you actually have, even though I'm trying to excuse stuff this season because it's a rebuild season, because because of the state we're in financially. But no, it's been nice, and he's got fantastic results in these big games, away to Fenerbahce, away to Celtic at Parkhead. So it's definitely, it's not a disaster having Barry in as manager, but it's definitely more of a vibe, I think, like this whole season has been. When we go into Europe, it's like almost powered by how crap we are domestically. We've taken so much energy, mental and otherwise, away from our domestic performances that it doesn't make sense that we should beat Athletic Club of Bilbao, who are fourth in La Liga, with all the power that La Liga has, with all the power and the money that Athletic Club have, even though, as we'll find out, as you already know, they've got a particular signing policy that might hold them back in a way. They're a magnificent specimen of a football team, and they've got a sense of destiny about this season's competition. But I just feel as if the only way we're going to win against Athletic Club Bilbao is to continue in this mad vibe that we've got going on this season, just to keep it stupid and getting beat off Hibs at Ibrox. That kept it. We've actually got the first part right if we're now just focusing on Europe, because we're out of everything else domestically. It's all we've got left to focus on, but that in itself, all we've got is Europe. I would take only Europe every season if it meant getting to European finals and winning European trophies. I'd be quite happy to drop the odd League Cup or the odd Scottish Cup. Not a problem. We have got, it has to be said, there's more to it than just it's been a crazy, wacky season. Barry Ferguson has lost this final. He's lost this final as a player 20 years after Ernesto Valverde, the Athletic Club Bilbao manager, lost it as a player. And just a year after Ernesto Valverde lost it as a manager. So he's got, and if anybody was going to ever outsmart Barry in European club competition, it would be Jose Mourinho, the special one, and he got past him in the last round. Athletic have got a proper experienced manager, a sensational squad, and play at a consistently higher level. They've got a guy who scored in the final of last summer's Euros. We only have a guy who scored the fastest goal of any match in last summer's Euros, and Bajrami ever, fastest goal ever scored at the European Championship finals. And Nadim Bajrami for Albania against Italy at the Westfalen. Good vibes there. We can't for once be more motivated or feel a greater kind of weight of destiny when it gets into a game like this than a club who are hosting the final, and like us, have lost this final twice previously. Like us, they lost it once as the UEFA Cup, once as the Europa League, and they want to be the first Basque club to win a major continental trophy and to do it in the Basque land, in their own stadium. We are up against it, I think, when it comes to this tie. The only way we'll win this tie is if we drain the kind of requisite energy from all other games to win this. And how we used to, all the energy we didn't put in it against Queen's Park to beat Fenerbahce. That's what it felt like. We kind of do it against Championship side Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup. They beat us with only shot on goal, but we put out Jose Mourinho's money-laden Fenerbahce by pumping them 3-1 in Istanbul. It almost makes sense in that kind of crazy sense. There's kind of integrity to it. It can only be kind of mad, mental, nuts, and we've got to go on. We've got to keep it that way. For example, the longest ever run of domestic home defeats becoming the fuel, kind of karma, physical, psychological, to power us, against this La Liga side at this point in this competition, in this season. Athletic Bilbao are so set up to win this. They feel as if it's their name is on the trophy, but we're just mental enough to pay no heed to that. Lolly72 is on the comment section. He, like me, is just getting more and more obsessed with the similarities between what we are doing this season and what Eintracht Frankfurt did and ultimately did to us in the final in 2021, 2022. Lolly's a bit more generous about it. He's just saying we're copping out of everything domestically the way Eintracht did, just to have a magical trophy-winning season in Europe. I was really bitter, for a while after that final in Seville. Not just about the way we were treated, our fans were treated in Seville, but I felt as if we lost the league that season under Gio to a Celtic side who had copped out of Europe, who'd chickened out of Europe to concentrate in the domestic stuff, and we just lost it. and we lost that European final on penalties to a club who had chickened out domestically to concentrate in Europe, and we were trying to do everything. As Rangers, we were trying to do everything. We won the Scottish Cup. We took the league. It wasn't as close to the end of the season as it should have been, but I think a lot of it was to do with just concentrating so hard. I think it's quite ironic that we can end up facing Eintracht Frankfurt or Ant Postecoglou in the final if we were to get past this game tomorrow night. He says, touching a lot of wood there. Take a breath, Alec. Take a breath. We don't do it sensibly. That's the whole thing. But we just don't do it sensibly at all. We don't do it in order. We're not doing the right. Win the League Cup first, then win the Scottish Cup, then win the league, and then you're supposed to start, getting into group stage in Europe. Do that for a few years, then you go. It's just Steven Gerrard started as doing it the wrong way around, kind of being better in Europe than we were domestically, getting ahead of ourselves almost in Europe. And I'm so happy to watch us doing that. But I think my kind of sensibly and instinctively, when this draw was first made, I thought, or when you knew who we were going to get, when they beat Roma in the last round at Athletic Club, I thought we'd get pumped. But in 71-72, Rangers were full of European experience, players who'd already played in a European final, guys that were of a level in Scotland's comparative position in European club competition at that time, guys who were of a level that could do something in Europe and maybe should. This season is it's more about this season just being bipolar enough. We're so bad domestically. As that Rangers team were in 71-72, they were terrible. They didn't reach either of the domestic cup finals, finished third in the league. I think Athletic's last Europa League club final was 10 years before ours. Their last European final was in the Europa League. It was 10 years before ours. Their 2012 final, they got absolutely hammered. Remember Diego, the Brazilian called Diego, who scored? He scored for them in the final. Radamel Falcao, El Tigre, what a phenomenal player. He'd scored in the final of the previous season, 2011, the only goal of the game for Porto in Dublin against Braga. And then he scored 2 goals for Atletico de Madrid that night as they beat Athletic Bilbao, all Spanish final in Bucharest. But Diego scored Atletico de Madrid's third goal, and we pumped him out the Uefa Cup. This last 16, 4 years earlier. There's just something about it. Just sometimes it's like, this shouldn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. But Rangers are doing it. So in this respect, I'm scared that Athletic Club they've got better players with better experience, playing at a better level domestically, but I don't necessarily think they've got better experience at a European level. We've got obviously Tav, captain us to a European final. Dessers has played in a European final. He played a European final the same season as Tav for Feyenoord in the Conference League final. But I think I'm just scared because of this craziness, because we need to carry on the way we've been going on to keep this going. And we did that by losing to Hibs in Saturday. That was the first part of trying to win this game. I'm scared that Barry's going to be kind of truer to his post-match word on Saturday than just the fact that Diamande and Suter are suspended tomorrow night. I'm scared that he's going to drop our most expensive, our best known players, supposed to be our first team players. They're the guys that have got us this far in Europe, and I think Barry should keep it crazy. He's talking about making big changes. I don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face by destroying a potentially greatest ever European moment just to prove how angry we are at domestic underachievement. I think it'd be counter insane. If you're going to be counter insane in a season of insanity, that ends up with sanity, and that's absolute anathema when it comes to us. That's toxic for us when it comes to doing something in Europe. The only time we've ever won a European trophy, it was utterly mental. We didn't get to defend the trophy. We didn't get presented with it in the stadium or on the pitch or up in the stand. John Gregg didn't get to do a lap of honour with it after the game. It's we were banned for Europe the following season. It's when we did bring it back to Ibrox, it was, as you saw, it's like a coal lorry taking it in the park in the coal lorry thing in the pissing rain, and it's part of your utterly mental history. This thing about we're supposed to be the establishment club, utter nonsense. We keep getting that proved to us by the authorities that we should take it on board ourselves. We do things at mental style, and this season is utterly utterly insane. Every time we're in a European quarter-final, we should feel the potential of life-changing history. I'm talking it's been a greatest ever victory tomorrow. It wouldn't be our greatest ever victory if we were to put out Athletic Club from this quarter-final. We've had greater victories than that in the past 2 or 3 seasons. But I think it would be a magnificent achievement if, and it sets us on the road to potentially winning it. We shouldn't laugh it off. We shouldn't get away from the fact, even if it is tempting fate that we're going to take a tanker in this game on Thursday night. We are a couple of games away from a European final. If we were to beat Athletic Club Bilbao, we're 2 victories away from becoming only the first Scottish team to win 2 European trophies, 2 different European competitions. That would be life-changing for all of us and for the club. It would be utterly magnificent. So we should never write this off, and we shouldn't let the domestic underachievement scare us. We should let it inspire us. It actually kind of makes sense. I want Barry to take that on board. I want the players and the fans to take that on board. It is worth it. Keep it nuts. Keep it mental. We can maybe get into this game. Have you ever talked to like a Hibs supporter about winning the Scottish Cup in 2016? Have you ever talked to a Hearts supporter about winning the Scottish Cup in 1998? Have you ever talked to a St Mirren supporter about winning the League Cup? When was that final? 2013-14. When they beat Hearts, Stephen Thompson scored for St Mirren. It meant the world to them. And you're kind of like, the reverence they have for that, the pride they have in what for you as a Rangers supporter is supposed to be routine stuff, winning the Scottish Cup. I mean, we were there in both instances in 98 and 2016 for Hibs and Hearts, but I talked to a Motherwell supporter about 1991, and I worked with a fella who was there in 1991, a big Motherwell fan, and they're talking about the Scottish Cup in a way that we almost never could. Because, and I think it'd be the same thing if you talk to a Real Madrid, a Liverpool, or maybe even a Manchester United fan, even though we could meet them in the next round. We've already met them in this competition. If you talk to them about what Seville in 2022 means to us, what Manchester 2008 means to us, even what Barcelona in 72 eventually came to mean to us, because in 1972, Barcelona, 73, 74, throughout the whole 70s at least, Barcelona, us winning the Cup Winners' Cup, was not revered even by the Rangers support the way it should be. That took time, but I think you find that these guys, like St Mirren fans, Hearts fans, whatever, the domestic successes, getting to the finals, there's a pride there that you can, if you find yourself in their company. I was on the train going to Mount Florida for the League Cup semi-final against Hearts last season. No, it was a Scottish Cup semi-final, even though we played them in both. And it was all Jambos that were on the train from Central to Mount Florida. And it's a massive day for them, as it should be. And a lot of them are kind of resigned to probably going to get beat, because they usually do by Rangers at Hampden. But it's just like, this is a big moment for us. And I think we've got that same kind of thing. And I want to expand that to what's happened in European competition since the invention of the Conference League, which was, it's only kind of, I think with Olympiacos winning it last season, and maybe the latter stages, the state they're in this season, that it started to not even properly, to hint that it might deliver on UEFA's avowed point of the reason they make out that they invented this tertiary tournament, clearly a tertiary tournament. The UEFA Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup could never quite sort out what one was second, what one was third. They're always kind of floating around the orbit of the European Cup, but now it's like there's a Champions League, there's a Europa League, there's a Conference League, so and you get promoted from one to the other if you win it, just to prove the point. It's very clearly structured now. But I don't think they have the final in kind of less heralded stadiums within sometimes less heralded cities. Having it in Tirana and Albania, and the final's going to be in Wrocław, and not even in Warsaw. It's going to be in Wrocław this season. This is the Conference League I'm talking about, but it still comes down to you end up getting. It's like Fiorentina, for example. The Conference League, you could have Bialystok or Jagiellonia, Bialystok, Legia Warsaw. You could have Celje of Slovenia or Djurgardens of Sweden, even though Djurgardens of Sweden have played in the European Cup, and they played the European Cup for Hill. They get beat. Another victory for Hibs in Glasgow. Djurgardens of Sweden played in the first ever edition of the European Cup, and it was so cold in Sweden that they played their home leg against Hibs, who were representing Scotland at Firhill. Fact for you, but they're in the quarterfinals of the Conference League just now, Djurgårdens, and it's quite good there. There's an Icelandic team doing really well in the Conference League this season. There was 3 different Cypriot clubs get through to the last 16, perhaps the knockout round. Maybe one get through to the last 16. Paphos, I think they didn't make it. None of them made it through to the quarterfinal. It started, but you get a situation where you could have Djurgårdens, Celje, teams you would never think of as being European finalists, getting to European. They're still in it just now, but you've also got Fiorentina are in there, looking to get to their 3rd straight Conference League final. And that, when they first got to the Conference League final, that was them. They were the first club to have reached all 4. The final of all 4 European competitions under whatever nomenclature or format you want to give them. And you've got Chelsea in there, who are favourites to win it and become the first club to win all 4 of the European club competitions, now that there is a 4th in the shape of the Conference League, a distinct 4th. You could have Real Betis getting in there for the first ever European final, but they're not exactly, and I've seen them before already. I mean, another one you're just ticking off like a ticked off Atalanta last season, and Olympiacos could already seen them before they get to European final. It's just like treading water. They're coming off my list as soon as they go on it, but I'm not really getting any penetration. But it's that kind of thing. What's really happening with the Conference League is mostly mirroring the Europa League these days. Like West Ham playing Fiorentina, Olympiacos even. I know they'd never been in a European final before, but massive club then playing Fiorentina in the final. Roma Feyenoord in the first final. It's massive clubs, and it's this kind of strata of European grand dames, and it's the same in the Europa League the last few seasons. Rangers against Eintracht Frankfurt was a fantastic fixture, not just for Rangers and Eintracht Frankfurt as the final in 2022. The whole of Europe, anybody who's noticed your kind of Domino's and Budweiser tourists who just wants to watch Man City in the Champions League and stuff like that, anybody who's actually into football in any shape or form, that's a mouth-watering tie. That's 2 proper clubs. Anybody who understands the game. And there's a whole tranche of clubs on this level. They're just outside. They're not in the actual, certainly not in the inner sanctum of the Champions League. They're not in the kind of monopoly. They're not in the cartel by any manner of means. But they're not in these. They kind of get themselves regularly into the top end, even of the top 5 domestic leagues. We'll never get into that. These clubs have got a massive history, a massive legacy, massive trophy haul probably in the history, and a big European legacy as well. He never quite went that final stage and there's like European Cup semi-finalists like ourselves, finalists like Roma, but never quite won the big one, the big year trophy. And you get like a Celtic, Feyenoord, they won it one season. Feyenoord beating Celtic in the final a few years after Celtic won it in Lisbon. 1970, Feyenoord won it, and even Ajax, who won the thing 4 times, even Ajax, who've won the Champions League, just because there's not enough people in the Netherlands to make it a proper Champions League hub. They need a Europa League final every now and then, just to keep reminding the country it's the closest they can get. It's a European final offers you a stage to turn around and say to the rest of the world, basically, hey, we're still here. Look at us. We've got history. We're massive. Something like say Olympiacos go in there to confirm their history, but I'd say Athletic Club of Bilbao are like Rangers, Roma, Eintracht Frankfurt, Sevilla. Even though they've kind of carved out a particularly unique niche for themselves with winning 7 UEFA Cup / Europa Leagues, but they've never went. Villarreal, for example, done so well for all those years and eventually win a European trophy, just to say, yeah, there it is. That's the level we've reached. That's the level we deserve to be at. And I think that's what these kind of grand dames, I say, of European football, and Athletic Club of Bilbao, the idea that they can actually win a European trophy this season. But we're the same. We want to keep 5 European finals. Isn't enough for us. We've never won the European Cup. To work out some sort of other record for a Scottish club by winning 2 different European trophies would be phenomenal. It wouldn't just change us. It would change Scottish football. And I think that's a kind of meeting of minds, a meeting of kind of spiritual equals almost when it comes to playing Athletic Bilbao. They're another of those clubs that have got such a kind of inner pride that they give the tournament, or give the final that they're going to reach, a lustre that wouldn't have previously. Like when Hearts played St Mirren in that League Cup final, it was a fantastic game. That's terrible. Was it 2012, 2013? I can't really remember when it actually was played. That game was it Ryan Stevenson, the guy that was an United fan that played for Hearts for a while. He scored a couple of goals. It was 3-2 to St Mirren, I'm sure. It was a bloody brilliant game. I sat and watched it.
And it meant so much to both clubs that it reminded you, for Rangers, we won the League Cup, nearly 30 times. How much it means to us. It was a routine thing. It was a kind of, obviously, we'd love to have won the League Cup last season. We've got to appreciate all our trophies again. But I think it's the same. We are now in that situation where we're trying to go, look, we're still here. This is what we are. This is what we are all about. And getting to this final would be utterly phenomenal. But in our way is a club called Athletic Club of Bilbao. They have never been relegated from Spain's top flight. They are the second most successful team in the history of the Copa del Rey, or the Copa del Generalissimo, the Spanish Cup. Only Barcelona have won it more than them. I think they're fourth after El Clasico and Atletico Madrid. I think they're ahead of Valencia when it comes to all-time Spanish champions. Their manager, Ernesto Valverde. We'll talk about in European terms. This is their 8th European quarter-final. We've been in 14. Now, they usually lose them. Usually lose European quarter-finals. The 2 times they've won the European quarter-final, they've made the final. They've won their semi-final. But they never lose semi-finals, but they very rarely win their quarter-finals. They haven't been in Europe anything like as often as Rangers. They got to the quarter-final. They got to quarter-finals, I think, of the second European Cup. They lost to Manchester United. They've got a fascinating history with Ferencváros of Budapest. They played them in a 1913 friendly. They were founded kind of 1898, they claim, but they became Athletic Club, I think, in 1901, and that was the first time any kind of paperwork appeared. So a bit like ourselves, for years we thought we were formed in 1873. Turned out it was 1872. Different reason for our confusion, but there's a wee bit of a coincidence there. Both kind of Anglophile teams as well. Their strip is either Southampton or Sunderland. It's in honour of the port. Obviously, it was the British that brought football there. There was a lot of trade going on. There's a kind of big industrial town, Bilbao, and there was stuff coming from Sunderland and stuff coming from Southampton on boat. And that's how the games arrived in Bilbao. They used to get a lot of English managers over. We are named after an English football club, an English rugby club. And we have various other reasons for it. Remember, we made the England jersey the biggest selling jersey in Scotland back in about 2000, which was always a weird one as far as I was concerned. But they're both kind of Anglophile clubs, ourselves and Athletic Club. Their European record against Scottish clubs, they lost to us in the quarter-final. Go and see my preview pod for the Hibs. It's a few pods down. Preview pod for the Hibs game. I went in great detail to our last meeting with Athletic Club Bilbao in the 68-69 Fairs Cup quarter-final. Basically the same competition, the same stage. We beat them 4-1 at Ibrox, and we lost 2-0 at San Mamés, the original San Mamés. So ended up went through kind of narrowly. In the end up, John Gregg missed a penalty at Ibrox in the first leg, but they'd put Liverpool out earlier that season. A few seasons before that, they played Dunfermline Athletic in the Fairs Cup, and they beat them after a playoff. And why is it always that the playoff was in Bilbao? And why is the playoff always? Have there ever been a playoff in Scotland for Scottish teams? All the playoffs used to get in the old days, it was always the Hibs get beaten a playoff in Rome after drawing over the course of 2 legs with Roma, and they get stuffed. It was always kind of dodgy. But they played Ferencváros in a friendly in 1913, shortly after they'd been formed. They brought them over, and Ferencváros stuffed them in Bilbao, and there was a bit of crowd trouble with fans going to parks, like hitting opposition players with umbrellas, and that start of just the basic kind of frenzy, the love of Athletic Club in that city of theirs. And then they played them 3 times in Europe. They played them twice, and in fact, after they beat Dunfermline in the Fairs Cup, they played Ferencváros in the quarter-final, and it went to a playoff, which was in Budapest. They had it in Budapest, so that's that theory out the window. And then they played them again in the quarter-final of the Fairs Cup, I think in the 60s. And again, Ferencváros beat them. And then 1981, 82 or 82, 83, but then they played in the Uefa Cup. As the Uefa Cup, the new format, they got Ferencváros in the first round, and they get beat 1-0 in aggregate. So Ferencváros, they are the absolute black mark as far as Athletic Club Bilbao are concerned when it comes to Europe, but we've already gubbed them, so maybe it's a thing. Hopefully we can gub them again. That's not the case for Manchester United. They got to the final. Athletic Club Bilbao, as I say, the first European final was the 77 UEFA Cup, which they lost in aggregate on away goals to Juventus. And then in the 2012 Europa League final, they lost to Atletico de Madrid. But in the way to that final, they beat Manchester United home and away. You might remember that. It was a cracking display by them over the two games. It was quite an exciting team, that Athletic Bilbao side. The last season, they finished 5th in La Liga. Only Girona's kind of fallen away this season is the difference. I think they're now 4th in La Liga, and Girona are the team it was, Barcelona and Real Madrid above them, and Atletico Madrid and Girona last season. This time they've only got the two biggest Madrid clubs and Barcelona ahead of them. They lie 4th in the league just now, but they finished 5th last season, which meant automatic qualification for the Europa League group stage. But they also, more to the point, despite their historic successes, it was the first time in 40 years they won a major trophy when they won the Copa del Rey, beating Real Mallorca in the final at La Cartuja in Seville. It was 1-1, and they won it in penalties. All very exciting, sparking, amazing scenes of celebration in Seville itself, but so they won a trophy on penalties in Seville. But that was the first time since 1984 that they won a major trophy, which was them completing the double back in 84, because under Javier Clemente, who scored against us at Ibrox in 68-69, he became their manager, and the last couple of times they won the league was 80, I think it was 83 and 84 they won La Liga. What a side that was, I remember that. What a strip. The strip's absolutely phenomenal. The Athletic Bilbao. I've got a big problem tomorrow night. That's a big European night. It's a big occasion. What do you wear? I'm worried about the socks. It's all the socks I'm worried about, because it's the Athletic Club's second kit is Rangers blue. It's a kind of Euskal Haria, Baskish kit, but it's Rangers blue top, Rangers blue shorts and white socks. Their home kit is the red and white stripes, the black shorts. It's kind of red and black socks, very red and black socks. So I'm hoping, actually, for once, maybe we go with the blue, the European kit, the all blue, at home, and let Athletic Club wear their home kit. They wore this kind of washed out violet kit, a third kit, in both their trips to Rome this season to play Roma. They played them twice this season in Europe. They wore that both times. It's kind of peely wally. I would just like to see Athletic Club in their home kit tomorrow night. So I'm worried about the socks, but they won the Copa del Rey back in 1984. The last time they won it was the famous game. You'll have seen it on YouTube. Look it up if you haven't. 1984 Copa del Rey final, Barcelona against Athletic Club. Athletic Club won 1-0 to complete the double. It was at the Bernabeu. There's 100,000 there. The Kings there, because the Copa del Rey, the Kings Cup. And there's a mass riot at the end of it amongst the players. The fans are all quite happy, standing away, waving their flags and what have you, but the team are knocking 7 shades at each other. So high karate kicks. They're doing a lot of kicking, big thighs in those days. La Furia era for Spanish football. But it was Javier Clemente believed in a kind of what he thought was an English style, very physical style, kind of defensive, a lot of discipline, a lot of energy. And you had Cesar Menotti, the 78 Argentina World Cup winning manager, who was now the manager of Barcelona, and he had Maradona, who had his leg broken by Goicoechea, the butcher of Bilbao, the guy I saw scoring against Scotland at Hampden in 1984, biggest crowd I've ever been in Scotland. There's a bit of bad blood, let's say, and at the end of it, it just went mental, and they're kicking 7 shades of Shihai out each other. You should look that up, 1984 Copa del Rey final, but that was Athletic Club completing the double after having also won the league the previous season. It was previous 2 seasons before that. Maybe got it wrong in last week's preview pod, the Hibs preview pod, when I was talking about this game, that Real Sociedad, from San Sebastian, they're big Basque rivals. It's a friendly derby between them, though, because the two of them are united in their hatred of centralist Spain, Castile and all that. They won La Liga in 81 and 82, and it's a bit like Dundee United and Aberdeen at the same time here in Scotland, before league titles between them. But that's the last time they won La Liga, and they won the Copa del Rey last season. So going really well. Their manager, Ernesto Valverde, he's 61 years old, really experienced guy. He was an Espanyol player when they lost the 1988 Uefa Cup final. He played in the first leg at home. They won 3-0, didn't play in the second leg. They lost 3-0 to Bayer Leverkusen, and they lost it on penalties. Then he was the Espanyol manager when they lost the final on penalties again, Uefa Cup at Hampden, and I was at that game. They lost it to Sevilla in the following season. I was at the Uefa Cup final again, this time down in Manchester, watching us losing it. But he's been manager of Barcelona, managed Villarreal, managed Olympiacos, Valencia as well. This is his third spell as Athletic Bilbao manager. He's now the longest serving ever manager, beating Clemente's record. He was there for 2003-2005 as manager, 2013-2017, and since kind of making a bit of an arse of things at Barcelona. He's been back since June 2022. He was an assistant manager. He was manager of the reserve team as well. He played for them for 6 years in the 90s as a striker. This guy knows what he's doing. But so did Jose Mourinho, and Barry put him out. I'm trying. The big thing with Athletic Bilbao, if you don't really know, or one of the big things about them is the Cantera, the quarry. I say Phil Ball. Morbo gets a really good book on this, where they only sign players from Euskal Herria, the Basque region. They obviously play, there's historic cases of quite plainly English people playing for them right back in the early days. It's quite an interesting story in Phil Ball's Morbo, check it out. But everybody we're playing against this Thursday night, every opposition player is Basque. And so like he is Basque, even Inaki Williams, who plays for Ghana internationally, and his brother, who plays for Spain, his brother Nico Williams, who plays for Spain, they're all Basque. They have to be Basque in some shape or form before you can get a game for Athletic Club Bilbao. Now, straight away, it was somebody I think we always cited back in the days, perhaps before 1989, before Maurice Johnson, where we did not sign Catholics. And in Scotland, at that time, the kind of signing players from all around the world hadn't really started. The complete globalisation of the game hadn't hit Scotland at that point in time. So we were excluding from a fairly small pool. If you don't want to sign Catholic players globally, you really are screwed if you want to be a global club. Rangers. So you're... It's like now if you're trying to be, anti-Islam or something, you've got to be able to sign players from all over the world. Folk just want to play football. All religions, all walks of life. But we were excluding from quite a small pool, basically Scottish Catholics. All Catholics, yeah, but it was only ever going to be Scottish ones that we signed. Quite a massive pool within Scotland, though, and it was horrific. It was just out of order. It's just totally disgusting policy. And when we did sign Maurice Johnson, I think crowds went up, so it was totally counterproductive on the park and off it. But if you think about it, Athletic Club are picking all their players from a small community. Now, there's 3 million people. It's not that small, actually. I think there's about 3 million people in the Spanish, the 4 kind of Basque regions in Spain, but I think they go into France as well to get their managers. Will take managers from anywhere now. The Real Sociedad don't do this anymore, and like I know I said Pamplona there, Osasuna from Pamplona, from Navarre, and you've got Alaves are the biggest kind of club from the Álava region, from the city of Victoria, which is the capital city of the Basque region. But they're unable to sustain it, because if you just can't afford. What happens is all the best players from that region get snapped up by Athletic Club because they've got the most money out of all those. They're the biggest of all those clubs in the Basque region. So to maintain this policy, they're actually robbing players. A lot of the players are from. You'll see if you go through their squad, they've got players from Pamplona, from Vitoria, from San Sebastian, so it's quite from Eibar as well. But it's a unique thing. It's an interesting thing. They hold their flags up now. I've seen that they've got big banners now and say it in English because they want people to know is unique through the world, unique in the world. This policy of theirs, but it's bigoted as fuck. It's a horrible policy. Basically it is, but because they see themselves probably as persecuted by the rest of Spain, they certainly see themselves as superior as the rest of Spain. It all comes from the Industrial Revolution, when lots of workers from the rest of Spain would come up to the industrial north into Bilbao, and as always happens in those days, when anywhere gets industrialised, they start inventing a mythology for themselves. Like we've got the whole kind of people wearing these skirts that they think are real kilts. That all starts, in the 1700s into the 1800s, and it's just it's for a rich people's kind of wank fest, and it also lets the psychos have some sort of cause to attach themselves to it. And the same thing happened in Bilbao, where they thought that these non-Basques were diluting their stock by the maquetas, they call them, people who are not actually pure Basque. It's really horrible. They're a proper right-wing club run by right-wing people, Catholic fundamentalists, but Catholic right-wing in terms of their politics. as well. You had ETA, the Basque separatists. I don't know what their relationship was with Athletic Club Bilbao, but it's basically, if you want to be politically powerful in Bilbao or in the region of Vizcaya, you really have to be associated in some way with Athletic Club, even just to be completely mental about supporting them, and most people there really are. But obviously, it's not like other fans are toxic. They're just supporting the local team, which is what they're supposed to do. But this thing of picking their own players, I've got, like, for example, number 11, Alvaro Giallo. He was born in Madrid, but he played for a few years as a kid. He stayed in the Basque region and trained with a couple of youth clubs. That's it. He's Basque. He'll do Aymeric Laporte, who I think he's playing in Saudi Arabia. Maybe played for Man City for a few years, and he was playing for Spain last season when they won. He was born in France, though. He was playing for Spain last summer when they won the Euros. But he was born in France. He's Basque through his great grandparents, and he had a few years at Athletic Club. So that's him qualifying for the Basque thing. It's quite a strange thing. We can't slag them having done what we did up until the signing of Maurice Johnson when it comes to picking who we're going to sign in a very specific way, and it should be quite limiting for them as well. But you've got the Williams brothers, Inaki and Nico Williams, who are their star players right now, no doubt about it. Their parents, I think they come from Ghana, I imagine, and they became refugees. They eventually got themselves to Spain, and I think Inaki was born in Pamplona. They got themselves to the Basque Country. Inaki was born in Pamplona, and Nico was born in Bilbao itself. But Inaki went with his parents, decided to play for Ghana. It's like the Boateng brothers. I think they were half brothers, weren't they? And one played for Germany, and one played for, was it Ghana? I think so. It's that kind of situation going on there. It's quite strange. But Inaki Williams, he can be, even though he plays for Ghana internationally, he can play for. He can captain. He's a kind of captain. They've got an actual captain. I think he's heading for retirement this season, but he's in his stand-in. He's not playing very often. Inaki Williams must be the vice captain. He seems to be captain quite a lot, and he wears. Look out for that tomorrow night. He wears the Icarunya. I think he plays number 9, and his brother Nico plays number 10. But Inaki normally wears it's Icarunya, the Basque flag, as the armband, the captain's armband. Quite a significant thing there. Look out for that tomorrow. But he's not Spanish. That's all right. That doesn't matter as long as you're Basque. It's almost a bonus that you're not actually playing for Spain. And they've got the Basque representative side, so they seem to get all of these players as soon as possible. Get your cap for the Basque. No, it's not affiliated to UEFA. It's not affiliated to FIFA. I think they've got a Catalan one as well. Catalan representative side. I'd love to go to a game that they play. I think they play teams like Palestine and stuff like that. It's all very political. It's a kind of celebration of Basque culture as well. But if I think Athletic Club are really keen to get players whose Basqueness might be a bit dodgy, get them in to play at least one game for the Basque Country. So you can get caps for the Basque Country and Spain. I don't know if Laporte ever played for the Basque Country, but he played for France at all the underage levels. Then he gets all these caps for Spain. I'm hoping to play for the Basque Country as well, just to go on the list. The players who play for 3 different countries, there's been quite a few of them, more than you would think. Two massively proud and distinguished clubs, I would say, unique in the world. That's what they're. But so are Real Madrid, and they get absolutely pumped by a British team, by a Basque Blue Nose last night, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Right, I'm just going to give you details, hit you with more details about Athletic. I'm sorry if this video is out of sync, folk. I just need to get this out of my system so I can get on with my life and concentrate in the game. I will give you what I know about Athletic Club just now. I know there's plenty of other podcasts out there. One of them being the Rangers review. Derek, the Rangers review, was talking to Rory Barlow, a Spanish football expert, Rory Barlow, and it was a very good kind of short pod there, just giving us an update on what Athletic Club are like just now. And I definitely took on board a few facts from that, so if I'm repeating any of them, that's where it goes. That's the attribution there. But he said the Williams brothers have been out of form of late, and that is great. I hope they stay out of form, because they are everything to them. I have watched all their goals in the Europa League so far this season. Athletic Club, and it is something else. 2011, it's the first time they've played in Europe since 2017, 2018, when they went out of the Europa League at the last 16 to Olympique Marseille. And yeah, the Williams brothers featured really strongly. They go straight in the group stage this season. We obviously got there by dint of getting beat in the third qualifying round of the Europa League, the Champions League, by Dynamo Kiev. We dropped into the group stage. qualifying for Europe for the first time since 2017-18 was a big part in Nico Williams staying, according to that young chap, Rory Barlow, who was on Rangers Rangers Review last night with Derek. Check out that pod; it's a really good pod. It was a big part of him staying because he obviously scored. He scored the first goal for Spain during the Euros last summer, and the winner was scored by a Real Sociedad, the guy from San Sebastian. So also the Basque influence there was massive. You got Unai Simon as well, the Spain goalkeeper in that game, the final of the Euros last summer. He's probably the number one goalkeeper at Athletic Club. But that young chap, Rory, I keep calling him a young chap because he looked young to me. He was saying that it will be Julian Aguirre-Zagabala, their other goalkeeper, who will play. They rotate their goalkeepers. They think he's due to play at Ibrox. Maybe that's better. He's only 24. Seems pretty good as well, though. Seems pretty good. It's strikers and goalkeepers are almost a cultist thing. And I was talking about Iribar last week, who was a goalkeeper in that 77 UEFA Cup final, a goalkeeper for Spain when they won the Euros in 64. Jose Angel Iribar, he was a famous goalkeeper that played against Rangers at Ibrox back in 68-69 quarter-finals of the Fairs Cup. So goalkeepers and strikers, a massive thing. In fact, on that, before I go any further with the current Athletic Club side, I will talk about Pichichi. I can't talk about Athletic Club without talking about Pichichi. I forgot that. The award, the bust, the icon, the man, Rafael Moreno Aranzadi. He's behind me there. He was dead at 29 years old. He scored the first goal at San Mamés, Athletic Club's, the original San Mamés, their famous ground when it opened, and he scored the first goal at Atocha. The Atocha, was it called? Real Sociedad's ground before the one they're in just now. Their most famous ground, the ground they were in when they won the league a couple of times in the 80s. So he had that distinction. He scored about 85 goals in 89 games or something for Athletic Club, including like hat tricks in the Copa del Rey final. It was in the days before the league. I think it was the late 20s before La Liga started. Athletic Club won the second league and they won the double. The second year in the league, Athletic Club won the league and the Copa del Rey. They started off like a train when it came to the totting up the trophies. Athletic Club, they were the most successful side in Spain for quite a while before Barcelona and Real Madrid started catching up with them. But Pichichi was a striker they had, icon. He used to wear a cloth cap. He used to wear a handkerchief in his napper, basically, really skinny. And he went to the 1920. He scored all sorts of goals for them in the days before I think the league had actually started, and became an icon straight away. Part of the kind of story of Bilbao falling in love with the game. And he went to Belgium, Antwerp, Philippe Clement's hometown, for the Olympics in 1920 with Spain. I think they got to the final, and when they come back, they were like, he's not as good as he was when he was playing for Spain. So maybe there's a bit of bitterness there about him playing for and he was a Maqueta or Maquete, I don't know what they call them. He came from, I think with his mum and dad. One was from mainland, from the middle of Spain, and his mum was Basque, but his dad was kind of Spanish, if you like. So it was like, he's playing for Spain, so there's a bit of bitterness going on there. And they'll say, no, he's not as good as he was last season and the season before. He heard this and he left. He packed it in. He didn't want to play against Athletic Club. He just became a referee. And then he died straight away. He got typhus, as happened in those days, and he died straight away. And it sounds to me like a version of the war memorials we've got everywhere. It's as much powered by guilt as anything else. They eventually have the Pichichi bust a few years later, which went to, was up in San Mamés, and a club visiting it for the first time would lay the flowers there. I don't know if John Gregg, I would love to know if John Gregg did that in 1969 when we played them over there, the year I was born, in Europe for the first time. And I don't know if we'll do it. I hope Tav does it next Thursday, because we're going to the new San Mamés. So is that you go to the Pichichi bust again? They've moved the bust there. I've sat with it. I got my photograph taking the Pichichi bust in the original San Mamés, but. So they had the bust the guy, and then of course the top scorer award. That's where I've heard it from. Your Torschützen Koning, or whatever. You get the cannon in the Bundesliga, the Golden Boot and various other leagues. But in Spain, it's the Pichichi top scorer on the top flight and the second flight as well, I think. And it's named after this guy. He's called Pichichi, I think, as a Basque nickname for somebody who's a bit skinny. He's very skinny, and you can just see it. Maybe there's an iconic painting of him by somebody called Arteta, a Basque artist of him with his girlfriend, or his fiancée at the time. He's wearing the full kit. She's got a skirt on in that. And they tried to recreate that when I think Spain won the 1998 World Cup. There was a kind of good-looking athletic player. I can't remember who it was, but they went to the Guggenheim Museum and recreated it, him and his fiancée. He's in the full kit and all that. So it's a classic painting, beautiful painting as well. It's everywhere if you go to Bilbao, and a lot of you will do that next Thursday. Look out for it. But that is Pichichi. He's got a cloth on his head, and it was... he's an absolute icon of the game over there. This season, it's Nico Williams and Inaki Williams are probably battling it out for the Pichichi. Straight into the Europa League group stage, they finished second. We finished 8th. They finished second in that group. Only goal difference stopped them top in the group. Only goal difference kept them behind Lazio. They won 6, they drew 1 and lost 1 of their 8 group games. Their first one was away to Roma in the Stadio Olimpico. They drew 1-each. They conceded from a kind of winger crossing to the back post. It was Artem Zhubin, the big Ukrainian striker. He was at the back post, so they conceded for a cross over there, but they scored from a free kick. From, I think, one of the wings goes to the back, kind of back post header by Aitor Paredes, a centre half. 5 minutes to go. A la the goal they scored against Sevilla a few weeks ago in La Liga. So it's a deep free kick for the wing, goes up to kind of back post area, and it was big Aitor Paredes. Now he's the number 4. Look out for him though. I don't know. I've not seen their team news. I have not seen the Athletic Club team news, so I couldn't tell you if there's maybe ins or outs, or somebody maybe suspended, or somebody perhaps injured that I'm going to talk to you about right now. But they then had they're equalising 5 minutes for time against Roma. They played Roma twice. They've been to Stadio Olimpico, packed house there. They know about atmospheres. They had AZ at home. The next game they beat them 2-0. Inaki Williams and Sanchez. They both got goals from Nico Williams getting down the left-hand side and cutting the ball back. This is something that happens 72 and 85 minutes, so they know how to go deep. They know how to keep going towards the end of the game. Slavia Prague, they then beat them 1-0 at home. Nico Williams kind of takes the ball, a nice wee shifter his weight to leave their defence standing, the Slavia defence, but he has a shot, it takes a deflection outside the box. Good goal, 43 minutes. They beat them 1-0, but it was a deflection, but it's Nico Williams again. They then go away to Ludogorets Razgrad in Bulgaria, and they go 1-0 down about 20 odd minutes into the first half. A wonder goal from the home team, from the Bulgarians, and it's then Inaki Williams steps up in the 73rd minute with an absolute belter of a goal, and they get a second through Serrano a minute later. Again, it's that 73, 74 minutes. They're getting beat for about 50 minutes, but they just turn it round in the blink of an eye, and they win that game 2-1. They're not really hammering anybody at all, but they just keep winning. Very strong mindset, I would say. Elfsborg of Sweden, they beat them 3-0 at home. All 3 goals come for great play down the left. One involving Nico Williams, kind of hitting the byline and cutting it back. And the first came from a corner routine where they play a flat ball to somebody on the byline who then cuts it back for somebody running into the box. It's a set pieces, it's corners, it's free kicks. You just got to watch them, and it's something we don't deal with well this season. This is why I think we could get absolutely pumped by this mob. Flat pass back. They then play Fenerbahce in Istanbul, and they win 2-0. They win by 2 goals, as we did. Inaki Williams, the first one, they dispossess the Fenerbahce, make a mistake passing it across the back, and somebody gets clean through in goal and just knocks it to his right hand side for Inaki Williams to tap it in. The next one is a ball to the back post area for Inaki Williams. He's coming in the back post area. It's a tight angle, it's actually quite far out, and he just rattles this thing right into the top of the net. It's a fantastic finish. And then Inaki Williams also draws the foul for the fella in the 69th, 67th minute or something in the second half to put Fenerbahce down to 2 men. We beat Fenerbahce by 2 goals in Istanbul as well, and they had 11 men for the whole game. Let's not get too worried about it. Besiktas, they go to Istanbul 2 in a row. It's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first game in charge of Besiktas, and they pump them. The Besiktas pump Athletic Club 4-1. I think they actually took the lead in that one. Nico Williams, and it was an equaliser. They equalised. They were 1-0 down after 16 minutes. Then, just right at the stroke of half time, Nico Williams, of course, sets up the equaliser. We've done the right hand side this time, but he gets dispossessed in the second half for them to go through on goals and score. I think the second goal, and I think the last two goals that Besiktas score, it's Athletic Club are pushing forwards, and they're getting beat 2-1. They're just pushing forward to try and get back into the game. But their flat four sometimes looks, just for goal highlights, looks very flat at times. They do get caught out, a bit like we did against Hibs in the second half on Saturday for Hibs' second goal. But the second goal is a penalty, but it just comes from them getting broke on as they push forward, try to get back into the game. And Besiktas end up beating them 4-1. Then get Victoria Pilsen at home in their last game in the group stage, which they had to win. You know, a bit like ourselves against Union St Gilloise, you know, all this great form, they still had to win that. They had to make sure they got a point out of the game at least. That's what it was, to be guaranteed going through automatically to the round of 16. And they beat Victoria Pilsen in the Czech Republic 3-1. 25th minute, and Inaki Williams goes down the right hand side to his brother at the back post. It's Inaki to Nico Williams. 64th minute, it's a free kick deep in the left, glancing header in the middle from the number 5, Yeray Alvarez. Big Yeray Alvarez, got to watch out for him. There was a red card for a Victoria Pilsen player around about the 87th minute. They go clean through on goal. There's a wee kind of chip finish or something like that by a guy called Marton for Athletic Club Bilbao, who I think is now out on loan. That's an injury time kind of coup de grace, because Victoria Pilsen pulled one back in the 71st minute. Again, kind of guy went on the left hand side, and the ball gets worked across their box to the other side because they look as if they're pushing too far forward. So maybe there's something to be got there from their defence. But they go into the last 16 and they go to Roma again. It's away the Olympic Stadium. New manager, Ranieri's the manager now of Roma. They'll be on that washed out violet third kit again. Athletic Club. They take the lead in Aki Williams 1-0. It's 50 minutes. Great corner. Paredes, big number 4, Aitor Paredes. He heads it right down. It bounces right up. And the commentator, or the co-commentator, is saying that's a bad header from Paredes. But I think it's a Basque thing. He heads it down to the 6-yard, but it bounces right back up to the point where Inaki Williams can come in and head it home at the back post, almost like he's expecting it. Their corner routines, their free kick routines are really good. They're well rehearsed, and the guys that they've got in the box, they've got people capable of delivering great balls, and they've got centre halves and centre forwards and wide men who are more than capable of putting those balls in the back of the net from set pieces. Really, really dangerous. Roma come back though. They get an equaliser like 5 minutes later. That was a cutback. Somebody hits the wing and cuts the ball back across the box. Again, they get kind of caught out. Athletic Club, we don't really hit the byline, cut it back much, do we? And then they have a guy sent off for that. That's is it? Who gets sent off them? I think it was Yeray Alvarez. He gets sent off like 85th minute, and Roma score a winner in the 93rd minute. Right, the very last kick in the last seconds. Injury time, get into over injury time, and they win the game 2-1. But it's a backtracking, just recently rearranged defence that gets kind of caught out with some basic skills. It's a ball played, through into the box for somebody to run onto. But it's hard to judge them on that. But they win the home leg 3-1. They're 3-0 up. Because Roma get Mats Hummels sent off after about 11 minutes or something for pulling somebody down. They get caught out at the back. Inaki Williams cross from the left. Somebody flicks it on. Nico Williams at the back post. That's I think he's over on the right hand side. They do it the other way about for a change. So it's this thing. If you think about Borna and Tav in season 2020-2021, when they were doing that left back to right back, it seems that the same kind of understanding between the Williams brothers, even though they're attacking wide players. It's the positions, they start in the attack. It's a 4-2-3-1 they usually play, and they're in the 3. They're either side of the 3. You would expect it. You would expect that from brothers, I suppose, but they're so involved in everything that Athletic Club do. Then it's it's the left back, Yuri Berčič. He's a bit of a speed merchant. He piles down. He's on a corner. It's a corner for the second goal against Roma in the second leg. And San Mamés, he goes in and he wins a header. He's not the biggest in the world, but he wins a header, heads it in. They're just piling on the ball from corners. It's quite terrifying. And he then piles down the left-hand side, and he's going down the wing. And then Nico Williams comes in and takes it off his toes and cuts across the box before turning a reverse shot into the net. A brilliant goal, showing that they're very direct. They're just very, very direct. And I think it was a penalty. Roma got their consolation goal from a penalty deep in injury time. They go this 4-2-3-1. So it's going to be Unai Simon or Julian Aguirre-Zabala in goals. I think it's going to be the latter in goals against us in this tie at Ibrox. He's due to go in there, rotate these goalkeepers. The right back is Andoni Gorasabal, number 2. You got Aitor Paredes, number 4, centre half. You then get Danny Vivian or Yuri Alvarez. That's number 3, number 5. They're going to be the other centre half. Yuri Bershish he's been left back. They then have the sitting 2 seem to be mostly Benat Prados. Benat Prados, who's number 24, and Mikel Urigizar. A lot of these Basque names are quite special. In the 3, where you get Inaki Williams, number 9, will go down the left-hand side. Sorry, Inaki Williams, number 9, will go down the right-hand side. Nico Williams, the number 10 scorer in last summer's European Championship final, will go down the left-hand side. In the middle, between the two of them, is going to be maybe Unai Gomez, number 20, or Oihan Sanchet, who I think's just come back, according to that chap on the Rangers review last night. He's just come back from injury at the weekend there. He might be playing in that kind of middle of the 3 of the 4-2-3-1. And up front, that's a target man or a bluff almost, just a wall to rebound stuff off, or for the Williams brothers to come in off the striker. The point of the spear is you're going to have Gorka Gurizeta or Moroan Sanadi, who's just a huge fella, number 21. He flicked one on for one of those goals I was just trying to describe there. Everything goes through the Williams brothers, but they're a very well structured side. It seems to be the kind of middle of the team is it's carried on that Basque tradition. There's this whole thing about the Basque country that they're very into things, strength, feats of strength, lifting huge rocks and things like that. And they're kind of a stocky people. They're not like the rest of Spain as they see it. So they like playing a physical type of football. They've got a kind of misunderstanding of the British game that's in their bones as well. They had a chap, Freddie Pentland was the most famous of all the English managers they had, and he used to wear a bowler hat. So we've got that bowler hat link. Davy Wilson after the 64 Scottish Cup final, the Eintracht Frankfurt guy getting the bowler hat, that became a tradition after they gubbed us in the European Cup semi-final in 1960, and they get the bowler hat. Freddie, he says this thing, he used to shout this thing about "not long for you now, Mr. Bowler Hat," or something in bad Spanish. Or in bad Basque, when Athletic Club would be winning a game quite handsomely, one of the Copa del Rey finals they were winning or something like that, because they had a tradition of stamping his bowler hat, and the players would stamp all over his bowler hat, and apparently he ordered about 20 a season. So there's the bowler hat link, but they have this thing of playing a kind of what they see as a British style. So here they are up against the quintessential British club, I'm told. They drew 0-0 away at Villarreal the other day. They're on a run just now of only scoring 1 goal in their last 3 La Liga games, Athletic Club, but they've not lost any goals. So they've won one of them. They won 1-0 away at Sevilla, then they drew 0-0 at home with Osasuna and 0-0 away with Villarreal. That was a right 6-pointer for them at the weekend there. Villarreal still got a game in hand, but they're 6 points in front of Villarreal. Villarreal in 5th. Athletic Club holding on to their last automatic qualifying space for the Champions League, and they themselves are 6 points behind Atletico de Madrid, who are quite the team as we know. Yeah, they beat Valladolid 7-1, I think 4 or 5 games ago, and I think they drew 1 each from Mallorca after that. So the goals seem to dry up. Maybe that's why that chap in the Rangers review was saying Inaki Williams is off form. I'm just going to go for it, folks. It's far too long a podcast. We're heading towards 2 hours. It's that kind of game, though. It deserves this amount of attention because I need to talk about us. Suter and Diamandi are going to miss the game. We'll miss them. Proper does well in Europe, but Balogun doesn't last whole games, so it's good to see Dujon Sterling coming on Saturday. I just don't know whether he's going to play. I'm assuming he's going to go wide right, Dujon Sterling, and we'll have Tav coming in as a third centre half. I think we're going to go 3-5, kind of 1-1. I don't think that's controversial. I don't think that's I'm not really out there telling you something you didn't know. There's no inside information required for that. We've been using the three centre halves. Dujon did so well against Alan St Maximan when he came on in Istanbul for the first leg against Fenerbahce, the kind of man marking thing. It's him we're going to put on Nico Williams, because this is a different level. Nico Williams is a different level again for Alan St Maximan. I thought there's a chance Dujon might be playing centre half. That's why he was playing centre half on Saturday. Maybe that's a bluff we're sending out to Athletic Club, or maybe it's just a case of we just need to get some game time into Dujon Sterling. But I thought he might be playing centre half and Tav could go out wide because he's more creative there, Tav, and we've done so well in Europe with the creativity of James Tavernier. But I have a feeling Tav won't be risked. He does well at centre half, Tav. He's been doing well there. I don't think he'll be risked against Inaki Williams, being never the best when it comes to the actual defensive side of things anyway, Tav, but obviously getting a bit slower in his later days as well. We need to get somebody against Nicholas Williams. He's who's going to be up against. That's going to be something to watch tomorrow night. Connor Barron, Jefte, Igamane and Raskan, they're all one booking away from missing the next leg, so they will all get booked tomorrow night, even if they've got to come on as subs. Missing Suter and Diamande is absolutely huge, especially Diamande, who revels in this kind of game. He's shit against Hibs as well, almost like he was setting himself up to be brilliant in this game. The scores against Celtic at Parkhead is dazzling against Nice, and what have you. We really missed him against Manchester United at Old Trafford. He might be the difference between us actually winning that game and just performing as well as we did. But so midfield is a lot to think about. We've got the ongoing dilemma with Cyril Dessers. Cyril, like our manager and our goalkeeping coach, has played in a European final. He's a trier. He's absolutely a trier. And if he's played properly with Igamane, I think, Igamane's link-up play with Diamande at Dens Park was part of the reason that Dessers ended up getting slagged rotten for the amount of chances he was missing, because he kept getting put through, clean through on goal by Igamane. His balls to him, well, hey, the football that Igamane was playing, the supply he was giving Dessers, I thought was really impressive. I think he's getting a bit of a hard time just now, Igamane, and he's been played out of position. I don't think he's been utilised properly, and I think it's a bit harsh on him. I think Igamane's is the gamble we perhaps take tomorrow night, finding a way to put him in the team. He's the X factor we require. He has to rise to this occasion, or else we're just not going to get there. We need somebody who can explode into this game, and I mean just not to get hammered. I mean just to give us something to occupy Athletic Club at the back. I'm talking about Dens Park. I was watching the highlights, sports scene highlights. I just kept watching, and it's Simon Murray, who I thought just had it in for Rangers, but then he's scoring again for Dundee. What a run he's on! I think he's got 15 goals in the league this season. I think he's letting 21 goals this season or something. Phenomenal. 33 years old. Is it maybe a bit late for us to buy him, maybe not the quality we want, but you're tempted, to snip up Tom Lawrence. Wrexham are interested in Tom Lawrence. That's fine. We'll take Dalby. We'll take Sam Dalby for him. You see the header he scored against Hearts at Tynecastle. Brilliant header. That's two strikers there we could use. And you're thinking they're better than Dessers, though, because they're playing a different type of football, these teams. And the thing I realise with all the Simon Murray goals that I know of this season, there's probably about 20 where he went clean through on goal. But it seems to be the two goals he scored on Saturday, for example, against St Mirren for Dundee. Simon Murray, one of them, the goalkeeper makes a complete arse of it, and he fires it past the goalkeeper from distance, right? So that's a special bit of finishing. And the other one, the ball's, it's somebody having a shot and the ball's been repelled by a St Mirren defence, and he runs in to then fire it straight back into the net. Dessers just seems to uniquely be getting played through on goal all the time. It's a ball from behind that is playing him through on goal with time to think about it. Even the goal he scores against Manchester United at Old Trafford, he puts himself through on goal with a turn. He's got a bit of work to do. He doesn't have time to think about the shot, away it goes, but we just don't seem to have that. It's like Simon Murray isn't getting played clean through on goal all the time, so I don't know, would he be any good for us as a striker? It's a moot point when it comes to this game, but it just kind of shows the issue with Dessers. I don't want to risk not playing him But I think there's definitely a case for Igamane coming in instead of him if it's about being defensive as much as anything else. Dessers works his socks off. He likes to throw himself down for a foul, etc. That kind of thing can work in Europe. And he's fantastic away from home in Europe. His goal against Olympiacos, his goal against Betis, that goal against Manchester United. These are goals that'll just live with me forever. He's sensational. The goals he does score are sensational. He is a one-man sensation, but it's really difficult to work out what we want to do tomorrow night, because I feel as if we've got to get Igamane into that team, and you've got the Butland against Liam Kelly thing. Jack Butland is like the guy. I mean, he's got to the stage where there's compilation videos getting made of all his mistakes. That's never a good sign. It's awful. It really is. It seems that Liam Kelly, if Barry's determined to make lots of changes because of what he saw on Saturday, you wouldn't be surprised if Jack Butland is one of them. You almost feel Jack Butland has to be one of them. He was so good against Fenerbahce, though. It's that situation where Jack Butland is one of those guys at your office who's talking big. Right, team, come on, let's do it. Kind of middle class guy, who's a total prick. Right, guys, okay, let's do it. Right, well done, team. Kind of taking praise for stuff, but inspiring everybody like he's trying to appeal to the big bosses all the time, and he'll get the promotion because he talks the right game, and everybody's like, he was shit. He couldn't do anything. He was shit at his job. Now folk get promoted above you because they'll swallow the boss's bullshit in a way that you just can't. Whereas Liam Kelly kind of comes across like the guy who will be absolutely raging that you're putting into somebody's leaving present. That bit said about us. Remember she fucking said about us 3 years ago? Remember that night out? And she said, you're going to put something into her fucking presentation? He's like one of these guys that's really intense in a kind of small-minded way. It's our choice. The one thing with Jack Butland time was able to rise to the occasion, like he did against Manchester United at Old Trafford. No, you've got a point. I know, punch the ball into his own net. I just feel he rose to the occasion against... It's desperate. He rose to the occasion against Fenerbahce, big style. I would love to even say, well, if he maybe has one bad game and then one good game, he's not going to do the same Thursday night, as he did against Hibs on Saturday. But he did the same against Dundee in the previous game, threw one at the net. So I don't know. I have a funny feeling Liam Kelly could be in nets tomorrow, but I really am too scared to say what I think should happen. We're in a sorry situation when it comes to our goalkeeper. I would probably chance Butland because we're going to need something to be massive. I don't think Liam Kelly's going to do anything massive, whereas Jack Butland can. Just the problem is it could be a massive mistake as much as a massive performance. I think we're going to go 3-5-1-1. I would say it's going to be Tav, Balogun and Proper are the centre halves. Your problem there being that Balogun doesn't last an entire game. Dujon Sterling probably going to play wide right. Raskin and Barron are absolute certainties in the middle of that midfield five. First choice is Ridvan or Jefte. Wide left. Hefty's got the engine. He's got the pace. He has no fucking football skill whatsoever as far as I can see. I mean, just... when Jefte should be scoring about 20 goals a season, the way he gets himself into the opposition box, never mind. And I can almost accept that he's been directly responsible for 2 or 3 goals that we've lost to opponents by just standing still and over a clue what he's doing, the basics of defending. If he would do more with... Has he got any assists? Does he have any assists at all? But he bounds about Brazilian style, that big rangy run of his. He gets up and down the wing. He's phenomenal. But he can't play football. He can't play football. He can run into space. He can batter a ball in front of himself and chase after it, but he just can't play football. Whereas Ridvan can definitely play football, but he lacks a bit of height, which is going to be really important against this team. And he's a bit inconsistent skill-wise, Ridvan, but he's good at coming forward with the ball at his feet, Ridvan. I don't know. I think it's a bad choice. I'd probably go with Jefte and hope that his physicality can dominate. He's going to be up against Inaki Williams. Or Robin Proper's going to be up against Inaki Williams anyway. Say Raskin and Barron, I'm just going to say them again because they're the easy choices. You're going to have somebody else in midfield there. You're 1-1 or you're 2 up front. We have to get Cherny in there, surely. Well, he was appalling on Saturday, but assuming he's passed the fitness test, I've not seen Barry's presser yet. I'm sorry if Barry's press conference changes any of this. I just need to get it out of my system. But I would have Czerny with... what I would actually do is I'd have Czerny with Dessers. Czerny kind of behind Dessers, really. And then for the fifth person in midfield, almost in the kind of 8 role, I would have Igamane. So we can actually go to it's not going to happen. It's mad. It proves why I'm not a football manager. But I feel Igamane's got to be involved, and he can supply. He is good. He is good. Maybe him and Dessers could rotate. I think there's also I think there's a chance probably we would play Igamane and Czerny. I would probably prefer to go with Igamane and Czerny tomorrow night, and to have Hadji or Bajrami in there as the number 8. I don't think Tom Lawrence is up to it. Hadji, big time player, but I think Bajrami's a big time Charlie as well. These Eastern Europeans, you know what they're like. So either of them in there alongside Raskin and Barron, trying to plug that Diamandi hole. But because we have that hole, I'm almost feeling we get Igamane in there, because he runs the... He kind of get played off the left. I think we did that. I think that we might have done that with him on Saturday to full Athletic Bilbao as well. Either have him up front or have him at 10 at least. And I'm so desperate to see him play that I'm even going to try and squeeze him in as an 8 between Raskin and, or just in front of Raskin and Barron. That's insane. I think I'd maybe drop Cyril Dessers tomorrow night. Have him come in the second half and have Czerny and Igamane with Hadji or Bajrami going in to make up the 5 in midfield. Basically, there's so many poor choices, so many players you hope are going to play. I can't decide. Barry, Willie Waddle, a Lanarkshire-born playing legend for Rangers who come in to do a really short-term job, historically, but a massive job. You know, and then he got landed with the Ibrox disaster as well. When he was in there, Willie Waddle, he didn't win the league. Willie Waddle did not win the league as Rangers manager, but he did win his European trophy. That was part of dealing with, Celtic had won a European trophy. We'll worry about the fact it was European Cup. Later on, let's just make sure we get a European trophy. Celtic were the only European trophy winners in Scotland at that point in time. So 5 years later, we get our European trophy. So that kind of dilutes the onus on us. It kind of dilutes what Celtic did. That's a fantastic achievement for them. But I think we're now looking at, if we could win the Europa League, that's another. We've won 2 different European trophies. We've won 2 European trophies. We've won 2 European competitions. What I think that would be. Is Barry going to be Willie Waddle in that respect? He's more like him than I realised since he's taken this job on. It's a European quarter-final, folks. It's a European quarter-final. This is absolutely massive. It's the 14th European quarter-final of our history. It's the 5th I've attended. It's the 3rd in 17 years. It's our 2nd in 3 years. We can't get blasé about this because there's been so many. And don't get too pessimistic because of our domestic form. As I've been at pains to point out, poor domestic form is usually it's what Rangers need to. Embarrassingly poor domestic form is what we need to win European trophies. Winning this game might just finally make us realise players can be shite and brilliant in the same season. Never write anybody off completely. And as I say, what would it be like if all these players, Cyril Dessers is coming back every 10 years for Rangers to celebrate another anniversary of Bilbao 2025. The Bilbao Bears and the Barca Bears. We've got a team setting records for ineptitude in the domestic front. Doesn't he just mean nothing in terms of this tie? Our only European trophy win came a similarly horrendous Scottish season. And in fact, it's how we do. I think Athletic Club are destined for the trophy. I still think that. But we don't give a shit about fairy tales. Our only European trophy winners say we get no lap of honour, no on-pitch presentation. We couldn't even get to defend the thing. We get banned for Europe. 1993, we were chucked at we get just put out the Champions League at kind of semi-final stage by a club who had bribed their way to the final, and we didn't cry wolf about that. We didn't bother complaining about that. That's just the way things go. And yet it felt like our destiny then, as it must feel for Athletic Bilbao playing the final at home, to become the third time of asking a European final, finally become the first Basque club to win a European trophy. They've already got the no major trophies monkey off their back last season, but it felt like destiny for us in 1993, didn't it? Celtic won a quadruple when they won the European Cup in '67, beating Inter in the final while they were in the midst of doing 9 in a row. 1993, we're in the midst of doing 9 in a row. We've won the treble, domestic treble. It felt like our destiny to be beating Milan, the other half of Milan, and the Munich Marvels, the Munich Masons, whatever we're going to be called. Destiny doesn't count. It just doesn't count at all. There's no such thing. We don't do fairy tales. We've been dealing with that kind of separatist bastards. We're dealing with that kind of shit with our whole history, but mostly it's Rangers fans I'm addressing. £49 a ticket. You can't really be half-arsed about this game. Everything we've been through domestically, and I think we still have a chance of Celtic winning the league at Ibrox, would all be so worth it, so forgotten if we became the first Scottish club to win 2 European trophies, to win a second European trophy, to win 2 different competitions in Europe. It would change our history, our reputation, our bloody aura. It would make us something so different to what we are now by justifying and solidifying everything we love about Rangers right now. We can't even imagine how small a shit we would give about losing to Kilmarnock at Rugby Park back in August or September or whatever it was. Since 2012, we've won everything once, and at this moment in time, I'm quite happy to emphasise the everything rather than the once. We won the 4th tier, we won the 3rd tier, we won the 2nd tier, we won eventually the top tier of Scottish football. Again, we won the Scottish Cup once since 2012, won the League Cup once since 2012, won the Challenge Cup once since 2012. Well, I'll be quite happy to suffer another year with nothing domestically if it means we win the Europa League this season and the Champions League next season. Maybe take a wee drop into the Conference League after that, just to sweep up in Europe, win everything once before we're allowed to win things again. The very first goal I ever saw from Basques was in 1984. Goikachea scoring for Scotland. Scoring against Scotland at Hampden into the Rangers end, and it was a free kick for deep in the left hand side to the back post area, and he got up and he headed that thing down onto the 6-yard box, and it bounced up over a diving Jim Leighton. Set pieces, cutbacks, crosses from wide, physical presence in the box. Aitor Paredes, Danny Vivian, Uriah Alvarez. Athletic Club Bilbao are playing what they think is a British style of football against us, but they are playing against the most British club in the world. We aren't really, but we like to think we are. That's our way of being unique. I've seen Osasuna twice in Europe. I've seen Real Sociedad pre-season, and I've seen them in La Liga. I saw them in Madrid, Athletic Madrid's old ground. But I want Rangers to utterly spoil Athletics, kind of perceived date with destiny. It was written in the stars. Well, we've got 5 stars on our chest. At one point, I thought we could lose this game, for example, by like 5 goals to 2, but that's the score in terms of European finals in our favour, and I would like it to go 6-2 before Athletic Club get a chance to get to their 3rd European final. They got to their first European final 5 years after we won our first European trophy, and again, I'm quite happy for them to get what they want after we get what we want. Enjoy this game, troops. Enjoy another Thursday Europa League night at Ibrox. Absolutely sing your hearts out, cheer that team on, and let's make this happen.